In the last video, we talked about the definition of real estate being land and everything that comes with the piece of land. I would like to use this video to expatiate and shed some light on some of the key points that I mentioned in the last video. My name is Fidelis. I'm a real estate expert and consultant in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Just a disclaimer, I am not an attorney. I am not a practicing lawyer. Some of the things I say in this video might vary from state to state, region to region, country to country. So please, before you go into these kind of projects, if you know you want to acquire a piece of land, please talk to a real estate consultant like me or consult an experienced attorney who is versed within that area to help you with projects like these. When you acquire a piece of land, you typically acquire the rights to all the natural resources that come with the piece of land. These resources range from everything that comes from the bottom of the soil all the way to the top above the soil. The extent to the rights you get with these properties depend on the local laws or rules that govern the area where that land is located. There are several rights you acquire when you acquire a piece of land. Some include surface rights. Surface rights gives you control over everything that is above the soil on the piece of land or on the piece of property you just acquired. Some of the surface rights you might have when you acquire a piece of land is things like the soil. With the soil, you can farm, you can build, but you have to make sure that zoning restrictions let you use that land for what you intend to use it for. So when I talk about zoning, what I mean is sometimes the city or the local government will map out an area for specific use. It could be for residential, to build structures for human dwelling, or it could be for commercial, for business purposes. If timber exists on the piece of property, you might actually have right to harvest the timber or the trees, or you might assign these rights to other companies to harvest these trees and pay you some money for it. If there is a lake or a stream running through this property, you will have the water rights to use that water, such as a lake or the streams. All this is subject to the zoning or the local laws in the area where you actually purchase the property from. While animals on a piece of property are considered public property, sometimes when you purchase a property, you might end up having rights to hunt and fish on the same property that you just purchased. Subsurface rights gives you control over everything that is below the soil. So we have natural resources. You might have oil and gas in the property. If you have oil and gas in the property, you will typically acquire the rights to extract these minerals from the soil, or you might lease out these rights or assign these rights to other companies whose sole businesses are to extract these minerals from the soil, and you get a profit or you get revenue from them doing that on your property. Other than oil and gas, you might have gold, copper, coal, and other valuable minerals that might be present in that same property. So you will need permits to extract all of them, although typically you will get the right or you will acquire the right to these minerals, but you still have to talk to an attorney to make sure that the seller transferred the rights to you. Because sometimes you might end up acquiring a piece of property and it turns out that the seller or the original owner had already sold the rights to these minerals to someone else, and all you are buying is that property. Make sure before you get into any of these contracts, you talk to an attorney, a well-versed attorney in that region who will help you go through these transactions smoothly. If you acquire a piece of property that shares borders with a body of water, like a beachfront property, you might typically acquire rights to use that water to a certain extent. Just make sure you do your research and talk to the local authorities so they can give you all the restrictions in the region where the land is located. Now, when it comes to air rights, typically you own the air above the piece of land that you acquire, but these extends up to a certain height. There may be government restrictions on how high you can go and the things you can do on that piece of property or on the air above that property. Something else I want to bring to your attention, and I think this is pretty interesting. If you acquire a piece of property, sometimes before you even get that property, The local laws have assigned utility companies to erect utilities like power lines, water lines, and roads. You have no right to kick these companies out of that piece of property because they've been granted those rights by the local laws. And also, sometimes the land might be in a protected area. So your use of the piece of land for building and extraction of minerals and the other resources you think you might have the right to will be restricted. So you want to pay attention to that as well. Now let's talk about the different kinds of lands that are out there that you can actually acquire for yourself if you want to get into real estate. One type of land you can acquire when you acquire a piece of land is raw land. This is land that has no utilities at all. There are no buildings, no utilities, just raw dirt. These are typically the cheapest to acquire, but needs a lot more money to develop because there's nothing to it. You have to actually bring in the utilities, you have to put the buildings on it, or do whatever you have to do to develop this piece of land. These are more expensive to develop. So you can use these and hold for long-term appreciation. You can also use these for agriculture, or you can lease it out for people who do agriculture to plant on it, or hold it and sell it to a developer in the future to develop it based on the zoning laws and zoning restrictions of that region. Improved land is another type of land that you might acquire. These are more expensive because they already have utilities on them. They already have infrastructures like water, sewage, roads, and electricity. They are more expensive because they already have these things attached to them, but they are one of the best because they are ready for you to use and ready for you to develop. These are ideal for residential and commercial development. Residential land is another type of land that you might acquire. This is land that is located in a region that has been mapped out for development and construction of buildings for human dwelling, for people to live in. You can only build structures on this piece of land for people to actually live in. That is the zoning restriction that applies to that piece of property. Commercial land is another type of land you might acquire. Commercial lands are located in areas that have been mapped out or zoned for commercial purposes. You can only use these for businesses like office spaces, retail spaces. Sometimes you might have mixed use developments where you have residential and commercial in the same building. These are usually located in high traffic areas so that people might have access or quick access to the businesses that are running on that piece of land. Industrial land is land that is located in areas that have been zoned for things like warehouses, production facilities, and research facilities. These require access to roads, transportation, and utilities. Another type of land you can acquire is recreational land. These are properties that are zoned for activities like hunting, camping, and other outdoor activities. They might be public or privately owned, so you have to do your due diligence and find out more about them. While we are on the subject of the types of land that you can acquire, there is a term I would like to bring to your attention. This is called land banking. Land banking is when you see development heading to a specific area, then you acquire a piece of land in that area, hold it, and wait for the development to come to you. Then, in turn, you sell it back to developers. You will definitely make some profit from appreciation during the period of time that you held that piece of land. I hope you learned something from this video. If you haven't done so yet, please click the like and subscribe button so you will be notified when other videos like these are posted. Thank you.